Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's Precious Robins with Precious Pythons, back with another video. Let's talk about snake bites. All right, so if most of you guys follow me on Facebook, and not my business page, but my personal page, I've been kind of really active lately, talking a lot about ball pythons and snakes on my page. And I've gotten a lot of questions regarding snake bites, and whether they hurt, whether ball pythons bite, etc., etc. So I always tell people, anything that has teeth bites, even us, okay? Anything that has teeth can bite you, all right? Now, whether they're going to or willing to, it's a whole different story. When it comes to ball pythons, sure, they are a very docile, mild temperament type of animal, and they're less likely to bite you, but it's not uncommon. So I know I've been keeping for about 2.5 years, and I've been bit 4 or 5 times in that time period. Granted, most of those times have been due to my own human error. I always disclose that first because it's always due to like a mistake that I've made that caused me to get bit. Regardless, however, snake bites, ball python bites, I will say, are typically painless and harmless, especially from the little babies. But even when you get to those 4 foot to 6 foot adults, again, I've been bit by adults before, and it typically is harmless. Sometimes it might be a little sting or a little pinch, like a little poke, like a needle poke, but again, hurts less than a paper cut, hurts less than a cat scratch. So, but cat scratches can be kind of painful. So, regardless, ball pythons have about 30 teeth, maybe 35, but they have around 30 teeth in their mouth, and they are non-venomous animals. I always like to correct people when people ask if they're poisonous. No snake or any animal that injects venom into you can be poisonous. It's not called poisonous, it's venomous. Poisonous, anything that's poisonous is something that you ingest, you eat it, or if it's on the surface of something and you touch it, like poison ivy, that would be poisonous. Ball pythons and animals, again, that have venom are not poisonous, they are venomous. And ball pythons are not venomous. They do not have fangs, they have teeth, and fangs typically inject venom. So their teeth, however, are recurved, which means they curve inward towards their own body. And the reason why they curve that way is because it's easier for them to latch onto their prey and hold them there to constrict them. So it allows them to hold on. Now that is the main reason why if you were to get bit by a ball python and they were to latch onto you, you never want to pull them off, because again, their teeth are curved backwards. So that means if you were to pull them off, they would rip your skin off. I'm gonna get a little bit into that as to what you should do in that, if that happens, a little later. But I kind of first wanted to show a few pictures of what a ball python bite looks like. So here is one picture. As you can see, when you have a ball python bite, it's typically like 2 little dots. And I will say, out of the 5 times that I've been bit, only twice has there been a draw of blood. And both of those times that happened, where blood was drawn, was during feeding. So when a ball python is feeding, they're a little bit more aggressive because, you know, they're looking for the food, they're wanting to strike the food. And I say that those particular times were definitely my own error, because I was rushing through once, that first time I was rushing through trying to heat up this frozen rat, and I didn't heat it hot enough, and my hand was warmer than the frozen rat, and the snake mistaked my hand for food and bit me, and it drew blood. I ran some water over the cut, and within seconds there was no more blood, and there was no more leaking blood either. I would say I didn't even know that snake got me until I saw the blood. That's how painless it really was. The second time I got bit during a feeding, it was a little bit more uncomfortable. It was by an adult male, and he actually latched onto my hand. I didn't have to do anything to get him off, because as soon as I jumped, he jumped as well and snapped back and let go. But there was a drop of blood, and here's a picture of that bite here. As you can see, there are like multiple little puncture wounds. Again, I didn't need to do any first aid for any of these bites. There was nothing that I needed to do. I didn't need to go to the doctor. It didn't hurt. That second bite was a little bit uncomfortable, like I said, but not, like I said, a paper cut even would hurt more than that injury there. And the next day when I woke up, my finger was a little sore, and nothing came of it other than that. I think it healed within a matter of days, and I was fine. I'm going to show a picture here of what a snake bite, a dog bite, and a cat bite actually look like. And, you know, it's next to each other. And I was pretty generous with, you know, the dog bite, because they can get pretty gnarly, pretty gruesome. I mean, a dog can kill somebody, you know, so this is just, most people know how bad dog bites get, so I didn't feel it necessary to show the worst type of, you know, dog bite. But as you can see, a snake bite is just minimal when it comes to, you know, injury or breaking skin. Now, I do want to talk about when you're more likely to get bit by a snake or a ball python. That would be during their feeding. Like I said, you want to make sure that you don't smell like what their food is. If you're feeding rats, if you're feeding mice, and you're handling them, you might want to handle the rat or mouse or whatever food choice with some tongs, especially if it's frozen. You can handle it with some tongs. I don't suggest handling live rats or rodents with tongs, just because I don't know. I think it's kind of unnecessary, but you know, to each his own. Some people do it. If that's how you want to ensure you don't have that smell on you, you know, go for it. But again, just make sure you don't smell like the food item, because then they will mistake you for that and, you know, strike at you. They are also more likely to bite when they're in a very defensive mood. That would be like, for example, during their shedding process, where they can't see, they go completely, well, not completely, but they go a little blind because their skin is covering their eyes, and you know, they might strike at you if they feel that you're a danger and can't see you. They also get very defensive when they're on eggs. Females do, so you are likely, actually a lot likely, to get bit when they're trying to protect their eggs. So you might want to watch out for that as well. And also if you like startle them like while they're sleeping. So if you're going in to change their water bowl or change their substrate and you kind of startle them, they could strike at you if they think that they're in danger. But again, a feeding strike is a lot worse than a defensive strike. And that's because when they're feeding, they're already in that mindset that they're going to strike, latch, and wrap, you know, and constrict their food. So that could happen if they strike at you. However, a defensive bite is more of a get away from me, you know, so it's like they'll kind of like strike and go back. So it's kind of like a, you know, so they're just tagging you. They're not like latching on, wrapping, or doing any of that stuff. But again, even during feeding, it's, you know, I couldn't see a ball python striking, latching, and then wrapping. They might strike and then latch, but you know, a way that you can get them off if they ever do strike at you, latch onto you, you can pour some cold water over their head. That might get them to unlatch, or you know, some type of like hand sanitizer, any type of like alcohol. They don't like the taste of any type of alcohol at all. So you could pour some hand sanitizer or some rubbing alcohol onto their head, or like rub it in their mouth, and they'll let go of you. Now, lastly, if you want to prevent getting bit by a ball python, I will say that if you plan on owning a ball python, or if you do, it's kind of inevitable that you won't get bit at some point in time. I think the best thing to remember is that it's more startling than it is painful. You know, it'll scare you more than it'll hurt you, and you likely won't even realize that they got you until you like look down and maybe see like a little puncture mark or a little red spot or a little irritation. But again, if you do want to prevent it, completely understandable. Who likes getting bit? I don't like getting bit. It doesn't hurt, and I still don't like getting bit. So I understand anybody trying to prevent it. What you want to do is you want to make sure you know your snake's behavior, ball python's behavior. You know, typically when they're ready to strike at you or tag you, they get into like kind of like a striking position where they kind of make an S with their head and their neck. and you know that they're getting ready to, tag you, or try to at least. Just pay attention to their behavior. I think that's key. Again, you want to make sure that when you're going to feed them, you don't smell like any type of food item. If you're serving frozen thawed, make sure it's warmed up to its proper temperature, which would be around like 89 and 100 degrees. And again, us as humans, we run at 98.6. So that's right around the temperature that they're looking for. So you just want to make sure that the food item is warmed up appropriately. Once your ball python has ate, don't handle them or it after feeding. Wait 48 hours until it digests its food. They can get a bit defensive after they've ate because they're a lot slower and they're in a very compromised state because they move a lot slower after they've ate. So they might be a little defensive. So just make sure that you don't handle them for 48 hours after they finished eating. And then you also want to make sure that you're feeding them regularly. Don't go a whole month without feeding your ball python and then expect that it's not going to be hungry and possibly strike at you. Make sure you're feeding regularly. That typically for a adult ball python is about every week. Sometimes people go every 14 days. When they're smaller, you can feed every 3 to 5 days, but you just want to make sure that you're not going too long without feeding them. So feed them regularly and you won't get a super hungry ball python. You also want to make sure your husbandry is proper, because if it is not, you will stress your ball python out. When I say husbandry, I'm pretty much talking about their environment, their living conditions. Make sure that they're in good living conditions. They're in good living conditions. They like it dark, they like it warm, they like it humid, and if you have all that correct, then you will definitely have a happy ball python. If a ball python is stressed out, they can be or get a little snappy. So make sure your husbandry is up to par and you'll avoid having a defensive ball python. Also, don't handle your ball python during shed. The shed process is typically 3 stages. So you have the pre-shed, which honestly, I don't see anything wrong with handling your snake during pre-shed. Pre-shed is pretty much when their entire belly is pink or red. You can see that they're going into shed very soon by checking that. That's a pretty safe stage. Then they go into blue, where their eyes kind of gloss over, and they look grayish or bluish. That's how you know they're in full-blown shed. They cannot see. They're very defensive. They do not like to be messed with. Leave them alone. Let them go through that stage peacefully without being disturbed, and you'll be fine. But the last stage of shedding is when they actually shed their skin. They'll literally, their eyes will clear up, their skin will kind of turn a little back to normal after they've been in blue, and then they'll shed. Once they've shed, you can handle them as you would regularly. If you do have a pretty defensive ball python, let's say you just got a new snake and it's taking time to get used to you, just make sure that you're not reaching, right directly in its face. That could get you bit. Grab them from behind their head so they can't see your hand if you're afraid of getting bit. And then if you do have a pretty defensive ball python, once you actually pick them up, they typically tend to calm down. You want to make sure that you're grabbing them with confidence. Don't hesitate. If you go and you reach and you hesitate, and that could get you tagged or snapped at. But just have some confidence. Once you reach in and you pick them up, they should be fine. But if you, like I said, if you want to avoid getting bit and you have a pretty temperamental ball python, then you want to reach from behind their head so that they don't see your hand. You can even distract them with your other hand and reach and grab them. But all in all, in conclusion, ball python bites are harmless. They're painless. This was all about how to avoid getting bit and what happens when you do. And, but I will say that I've been bit numerous times and they've all been pretty superficial. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you guys were able to take something from it. Most people that are watching this probably, like I said, are looking to find a way to avoid getting bit or are interested or curious about it. But if anyone is watching this and you are a ball python breeder or hobbyist or enthusiast and you've been bit, comment down below. Let anybody who's watching this know how harmless those bites can actually be, and ease some anxiety and tension for some people. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any future content from me in the future. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.